so big, I'ma ride it, ride it, ride it, ride it, ride it.
Welcome back, strategists. Isabella Marquez here, and today is 23rd of February 2026. This room is for people who want repeatable advantage, not random excitement. I am not playing eFootball 2026. I am not holding a controller. I am here to read the system, translate it into rules, and help you build a squad in a style that survives pressure. If the analysis helps, do the simple support actions that keep high-signal content alive. Follow, subscribe, like, share, and support. A single share to a competitive friend does more than any promo pack ever will, because it puts disciplined minds in the same space. The algorithms reward noise, but we reward signal. Every time you share this content with someone who actually wants to improve rather than just consume, you strengthen the network of players who think systematically. That network effect compounds over time, creating lobbies where the quality of play rises and the quality of decision-making becomes the differentiator. So if this resonates, take the 10 seconds to share it. It costs you nothing and builds something durable. Tonight we build what I call a meta portfolio blueprint. Think like an investor, but do not copy investor buzzwords. Use the logic. Your squad is a portfolio of roles. Your tactics are the risk controls. Your substitutions are liquidity. Your habits are the edge. The latter changes every week, but portfolios built on stable role coverage do not collapse when the crowd chases the next shiny card. The market moves, the meta shifts, the promos rotate, but the underlying principles of risk management remain constant. What we are building here is anti-fragility, the property of systems that actually improve when exposed to volatility and stress. Most players become brittle when the meta changes. Their entire identity is wrapped up in specific cards or specific formations. And when those get nerfed or countered, they have no foundation to fall back on. The portfolio approach inverts this. You become stronger when conditions become uncertain because your edge is structural, not situational. Start with a truth most players resist. You do not lose because your squad is weak. You lose because your squad and your decisions are correlated in the wrong way. Correlation is when two things fail together. If you have aggressive fullbacks, and you also force risky central passes, you will concede counters and clusters. If you have a high line and you also sprint select defenders late, you will concede through balls and clusters. If your midfield is creative but not disciplined, and you also shoot from bad angles, you will concede transition goals and clusters. Your job is to reduce catastrophic clusters. This is the fundamental insight that separates risk-aware players from results-oriented players. The results-oriented player looks at a 3-0 loss and thinks, I need better defenders. The risk-aware player looks at the same loss and sees 3 goals that all came from the same structural vulnerability. A vulnerability that could have been addressed with behavioral changes rather than coin expenditures. Correlation risk is invisible until it destroys you. It is the silent killer of ranked progression because it masquerades as bad luck. You tell yourself the game is scripted, that the momentum shifted unfairly, that your keeper made a mistake. But the truth is usually simpler. You built a system where multiple failure modes could trigger simultaneously, and when they did, you had no circuit breakers. So the portfolio question is not who is my best player. The portfolio question is, what is my worst drawdown scenario, and what ensures me against it? Drawdown is the collapse that happens when you make 2 mistakes in a row, and the match becomes a spiral. Your insurance is usually 1 disciplined anchor, 1 recovery defender, and 1 safe build exit pattern. That trio prevents spirals. Think of these as your system's immune response. The disciplined anchor is your first line of defense, a player who maintains position when everyone else is chasing the ball. The recovery defender is your second line, someone with the pace and awareness to clean up when the first line is breached. The safe build exit pattern is your behavioral failsafe, a pre-programmed sequence that you can execute even when your mental resources are depleted. Together, These three elements create a floor on your performance. They ensure that even on your worst day, you do not give away cheap goals. And in ranked play, where margins are thin and variance is high, protecting your downside is often more valuable than maximizing your upside. Let us map the pitch into 3 lanes and 2 hinges. Lane 1 is central progression. Lane 2 is half-space progression. Lane 3 is wing progression. The hinges are the pivot zone in front of your center backs and the edge of box zone where cutbacks and rebounds live. Most goals are created by controlling hinges, not by dancing in lanes. This distinction is crucial because most training time is spent in lanes, practicing skills moves, learning dribbling patterns, mastering finish techniques. But the actual decision-making that determines match outcomes happens in the hinges. The pivot zone is where build-up lives or dies. It is where pressure is absorbed or amplified. The edge of box zone is where defensive organization is tested most severely. It is where the compactness of your block, the discipline of your tracking, and the timing of your interventions determine whether you concede. Mastering the lanes without mastering the hinges is like learning to drive fast without learning to brake. You might look impressive in open space, but you will crash when conditions tighten. When you plan, you decide which lane is your primary lane, which lane is your secondary lane, and which hinge you will protect first. That is identity. If your primary lane is wings, you must protect the pivot hinge so counters do not kill you. If your primary lane is central combinations, you must protect the edge of box hinge so rebounds and interceptions do not kill you. Identity is not a formation. Identity is lane priority plus hinge protection. This is why copying pro player formations often fails for amateur players. You see a 4-3-3 and you replicate it, but you do not replicate the decision architecture that makes it work. The pro player chose that formation because it expresses their lane priority and hinge protection strategy. Without understanding the underlying logic, you are just moving pieces on a board. Your identity should emerge from your strengths and your risk tolerance, not from what you saw on a YouTube highlight reel. Now, the portfolio blueprint has 4 asset classes. Asset class 1 is the stabilizer. Stabilizers keep structure in bad moments. Think center backs with dual reliability, defensive mids who hold position, and goalkeepers who reduce cheap goals. Asset class 2 is the distributor. Distributors move the ball without drama, controllers, deep playmakers, and fullbacks with safe passing angles. Asset class 3 is the separator. Separators create separation in the final third. Dribblers who win the first duel, runners who create depth, and creators who unlock a shot window. Asset class 4 is the finisher. Finishers convert the work into goals, especially when chances are tight. These categories are not arbitrary. They map directly to the phases of play and the risks associated with each phase. Stabilizers manage defensive risk. Distributors manage build-up risk. Separators manage progression risk. Finishers manage conversion risk. A balanced portfolio has exposure to all 4 risk categories, weighted according to your strategic preferences. Every good portfolio has at least one in each asset class, and the ratio depends on your style. If you want calm control, your portfolio leans stabilizer plus distributor. If you want transition aggression, your portfolio leans separator plus finisher, but you still need insurance or you will burn. The specific ratios matter less than the principle of non-zero exposure. I have seen players try to run zero stabilizer portfolios, convinced that they can outscore their defensive problems. This works until it doesn't, usually around the rank where opponents stop making unforced errors. Similarly, I have seen players over-index on stabilizers, creating teams that never lose badly, but never win decisively either. The optimal portfolio reflects your actual skill profile, not your aspirational identity. Be honest about where you are strong and where you need support. Here is the simple build rule. Do not add a separator until your stabilizer base is trustworthy. People do the opposite. They buy a faster winger while their pivot hinge is open. They buy a striker while their center backs step out. Then they complain the game is scripted. No, their portfolio is unhedged. This rule is hard to follow because separators are exciting. They produce moments that feel like skill expression. Stabilizers are invisible when they work, and conspicuous only when they fail. The human brain is not wired to value prevention, but that is exactly what competitive play requires. Every coin you spend on a flashy attacker before securing your defensive foundation is a coin spent on increasing your variance without increasing your expected value. It is gambling dressed as ambition. We also need to talk about role elasticity. Elasticity is how many tactical jobs a player can perform without breaking your shape. A highly elastic defensive midfielder can screen, intercept, and recycle under pressure. A highly elastic fullback can overlap, recover, and still pass safely. A low elasticity attacker might be brilliant at one thing, like running behind, but useless when the opponent sits deep. Elasticity is why some cards feel always good, and some feel only good sometimes. Elastic players provide option value. They allow you to adapt mid-match without making substitutions. They cover for teammates who are out of position. They maintain functionality when the game state changes unexpectedly. In volatile metas, elasticity is premium. In stable metas, specialization can outperform. Understanding this trade-off is key to resource allocation. When the latter is unstable, prioritize elasticity. When the latter is stable, you can specialize. That is how you time your upgrades without wasting resources. The latter is currently in a state of flux. New patches are dropping frequently, popular tactics are shifting weekly, and the optimal build is not yet settled. In this environment, the player with a portfolio of elastic assets can adapt while others are forced to rebuild. When things stabilize, you can sell elasticity at a premium and buy specialization where it counts. Now let us do opponent fingerprinting. In the first 5 minutes, you collect 3 fingerprints. Fingerprint 1. Do they defend by chasing the ball or by holding lanes? Fingerprint 2. Do they attack by forcing depth or by building patiently? Fingerprint 3. Do they panic when pressured or do they recycle calmly? These fingerprints tell you which asset class you need to lean on in that match. Fingerprinting is information gathering at minimum cost. You are not trying to win in the first 5 minutes. You are trying to understand what winning will look like. Most players play the same way regardless of opponent. They execute their game plan and hope it works. Fingerprinting allows you to customize your approach, exploiting specific weaknesses, rather than playing generic optimal strategy. If they chase the ball, you punish with quick 1-2s and support runs. If they hold lanes, you punish with wing switches and delayed entries into half spaces. If they force depth, you protect channels and deny central turnovers. If they build patiently, you press on triggers and cut return passes. If they panic, you apply steady pressure. If they recycle calmly, you do not overcommit, you starve them. Each of these responses is a specific tactical adjustment that leverages your portfolio in a particular way. Against chasers, you need separators who can play under pressure, and distributors who can find the open man. Against lane holders, you need patient distributors and separators who can operate in tight spaces. The fingerprint determines which assets you emphasize. The reason this matters is simple. Your best plan is not the most complicated plan. Your best plan is the plan that targets the opponent's weakest behavioral loop. Everyone has patterns they fall back on under stress. Your job is to create the stress that exposes those patterns, then have the tools to punish them. Complexity is not the goal. Precision is the goal. Now we introduce a concept called decision latency. Decision latency is the time between seeing an option and acting on it. High decision latency makes you late to passes and late to tackles, which makes the game feel faster than it is. The cure is not faster fingers. The cure is fewer choices. You reduce choices by installing defaults. Decision latency is the hidden variable in most slow gameplay. Players think they need better reactions, better mechanics, better connection. Often, what they need is better pre-decision. The brain can only process so much information in real time. By pre-committing to certain actions in certain situations, you free up cognitive resources for the moments that actually require improvisation. Your default should be written like rules, not like hopes. Default 1. When pressured in your defensive third, you play to a safe triangle, not forward. Default 2. When you enter the final third, you look for one decisive action. Then reset if it is not clean. Default 3. When the opponent reaches the byline, you block the cutback lane first, not the cross. Default 4. After losing the ball, you either win it back immediately with the nearest balanced player or you drop into shape. You do not half chase. These defaults are not suggestions. They are commitments. When you break them, you should feel it as a violation of protocol, not just a suboptimal choice. That emotional weight is what makes them stick under pressure. These defaults reduce decision latency and protect your hinges. That is what calm looks like. Calm is not the absence of pressure. Calm is the presence of reliable procedures. When you know exactly what to do in the most common dangerous situations, you conserve mental energy for the rare moments that actually decide matches. Now, because this channel is about rotating elite promo assets, we need a way to talk about cards without becoming a shopping stream. Here is the card selection method for today. The portfolio test. The portfolio test has 3 questions. Question 1. Does the card reduce my worst drawdown scenario? Question 2. Does the card increase my chance creation without increasing my counter risk? Question 3. Does the card remain useful if my opponent changes tempo? If the card fails all 3, it is entertainment. If it passes 2, it is strategic. If it passes 3, it is a cornerstone. This framework protects you from hype cycles. Every promo, every new release generates excitement. The portfolio test forces you to translate that excitement into structural terms. Does this actually make my system more robust? Or does it just give me a new toy? Let us apply it to 3 match scenarios you see constantly. Scenario 1 is the fast start trap. You concede early because your opening build is shaky. The portfolio response is to front-load stability. You start matches with safe patterns, you avoid risky central passes, and you play your first shot only when it is clean. Your card preference is elasticity in the pivot and in the fullbacks. Your tactical preference is a rest shape that keeps at least 3 players behind the ball when you attack. The fast start trap is psychological as much as tactical. Early goals create momentum effects that are hard to reverse. By front-loading stability, you buy time to assess the opponent and settle into your game. Scenario 2 is the deep block grind. You dominate possession, but cannot create clean shots. The portfolio response is to add separation without breaking insurance. You commit 1 extra runner into the half space, but keep your balanced side conservative. Your card preference is a creator who can receive between lines and a finisher who needs fewer touches. Your tactical preference is a cycle: wide, reset, half space, final action. The deep block grind tests your patience. Most players respond by forcing play, increasing their risk without increasing their reward. The disciplined response is to maintain structure while gradually increasing offensive investment. Scenario 3 is the counter spiral. You attack, lose the ball, concede, then chase. The portfolio response is to reduce correlation. You do not allow both fullbacks to be high. You avoid central turnovers when your shape is stretched, and you shoot earlier when you have the lane, rather than dribbling into congestion. Your card preference is a stabilizer DMF and a recovery defender. Your tactical preference is containment, not diving. The counter spiral is the most dangerous game state because it is self-reinforcing. Each goal conceded makes you more desperate, which makes you more vulnerable. Breaking the spiral requires behavioral intervention, not just tactical adjustment. Now let us talk about the hinge zones with precision. The pivot hinge is protected by 3 behaviors: receiving on the half turn, passing under pressure, and positioning in transition. If your pivot player constantly turns into pressure, you will lose the ball centrally. If your pivot player drifts wide, your center backs will be exposed. If your pivot player cannot intercept, your opponent will enter the half spaces freely. So when you choose a pivot asset, you are choosing a match tempo lever. The pivot is the conductor of your orchestra. Their technical quality determines how fast you can play without losing control. Their tactical discipline determines whether you can sustain pressure or whether you will crack. The edge-a-box hinge is protected by compactness and patience. You protect it by not pulling center backs out, by tracking runners with midfielders, and by delaying the final pass. This hinge is where cutbacks live, and cutbacks are a predictable tax on undisciplined defending. Your job is to make the cutback lane expensive. Most goals in modern football come from this zone. It is the highest value real estate on the pitch, and defending it requires collective discipline rather than individual heroics. Now we move to attack, but we will talk about it like a portfolio, not like highlights. Separators create the first advantage. They do not need to score. They need to force a defender to commit. A wide separator forces the fullback to step. A central separator forces the defensive mid to step. A runner separator forces the center back to drop. Every time a defender commits, a lane opens somewhere else. Your job is to see the lane and act quickly, then reset. This is the fundamental geometry of attack. You are not trying to beat defenders permanently. You are trying to create temporary numerical advantages that you can exploit before the defense recovers. This is where the two-touch law helps. In the final third, you try to keep most actions to 2 touches or fewer. Touch 1 sets your body angle. Touch 2 executes the pass or shot. If you keep taking extra touches, you invite tackles and you lose the advantage you created. 2-touch play is not style. It is risk management. Extra touches are where defenders recover, where angles close, where opportunities die. The 2-touch law forces you to prepare before receiving, to know your next action before the ball arrives. Now we introduce another new concept, the silent switch. The silent switch is a wing switch that is not obvious because you do it through a central recycle instead of a long diagonal. You go wing, back to the pivot, into the opposite fullback, then forward. It looks slower, but it is safer, and it preserves shape. Against players who hunt long diagonals, the silent switch keeps you unpredictable. Direct switches are high risk, high reward. They can unlock defenses instantly, but they can also be intercepted, leading to dangerous transitions. The silent switch trades some explosive potential for consistency and safety. Next, we talk about finish windows. Finish windows are moments when the goalkeeper and defenders are set in a way that makes certain shots high percentage. The most common finish window is the early near post shot when the keeper shifts late. Another is the penalty spot shot off a cutback when the center backs are turning. Another is the far post guided finish when the fullback is late. Elite finishers convert windows, but you can convert windows too if you learn to shoot when the window opens, not after it closes. Window recognition is a trainable skill. It requires you to read the positions of multiple defenders and the goalkeeper simultaneously, then calculate the probability of success for different shot types. So train one rule. If the shot is clean, take it immediately. Do not decorate it. Decoration is the enemy of efficiency. The extra touch to set your perfect angle. The extra second to compose yourself. These are where keepers recover and defenders block. Clean shots are gifts. Accept them gratefully and immediately. Now, let us integrate substitutions as liquidity. Liquidity is your ability to change the match without collapsing. Many people substitute randomly. You will do it strategically. Random substitution is reactive. You are tired or someone is underperforming, so you make a change. Strategic substitution is proactive. You are anticipating game state changes and positioning yourself to exploit them. There are 3 substitution categories. Category 1 is the engine swap. You replace sprint-heavy roles like wingers and fullbacks to maintain width and recovery. Category 2 is the control swap. You replace a midfielder to protect the pivot hinge when the match becomes chaotic. Category 3 is the threat swap. You replace an attacker to change the type of pressure you apply, like adding a runner or adding a target. Each category addresses a specific portfolio need. Engine swaps maintain physical intensity. Control swaps restore structural integrity. Threat swaps alter the offensive geometry. Plan 2 swaps before the match starts based on your identity. If you are a control portfolio, your first swap is often an engine swap to keep width. If you are a transition portfolio, your first swap is often a control swap to avoid late-game spirals. Pre-planning prevents panic. When the match is tight and emotions are high, you do not want to be making complex calculations about who to bring on. You want to be executing a plan you already made. Now, because you asked for brand new ideas, here is the most powerful one for ranked improvement: constraint stacking. Constraint stacking is when you deliberately practice with one limitation that forces better habits. For example, you play 5 matches where you never pass into the pivot unless the pivot is facing forward. You play 5 matches where you never sprint in your defensive third. You play 5 matches where you only shoot from inside the box. These constraints feel restrictive, but they accelerate learning because they remove bad options. Constraints are counterintuitive. Most players think improvement comes from adding options, from expanding their toolkit, but often the opposite is true. By artificially limiting your choices, you force yourself to master the fundamentals that actually determine outcomes. Choose one constraint per week, and your decision latency drops because your choice set shrinks. This is how you build unconscious competence. You are not thinking about what to do because you have already eliminated most of the wrong answers through systematic practice. Now, let us talk about meta reading without getting lost in rumors. You read meta by watching 3 behaviors, not by reading patch notes. Behavior 1. Where are most attacks starting? If attacks start wide, wing engines are dominant. If attacks start central, midfield controllers are dominant. If attacks start from direct passes, vertical threats are dominant. Behavior 2. Where are most goals being conceded? If goals are from cutbacks, box discipline is weak. If goals are from through balls, line management is weak. If goals are from rebounds, shot selection and second balls are weak. Behavior 3. How are players defending? If they are aggressive and stepping, you punish with depth. If they are passive, you punish with half-space entries. If they are chaotic, you punish with calm recycling. When you see these behaviors shift over a few sessions, you adjust one piece of your portfolio, not your entire identity. Small adjustments beat overhauls. The meta reader is patient. They do not chase every trend. They wait for patterns to stabilize. Then they make targeted interventions that exploit those patterns. Now, I want to speak directly to the audience that wants rapid climbing. Your goal is not to win one match. Your goal is to raise your baseline. Baseline is what you can do even when you are tired. Baseline rises when your defaults are strong. So do not chase advanced mechanics until your baseline is stable. The temptation to learn the latest skill move, the newest glitch, the most recent exploit, it is constant. But these are ceiling raisers, not floor raisers. They help you win matches you are already competitive in. They do not help you stop losing matches you should be winning. Your baseline checklist is simple. Can you exit pressure without panic? Can you protect cutback lanes? Can you avoid central turnovers when stretched? Can you create one high-quality chance every 5 minutes? Can you manage the last 20 minutes without spiraling? If you can do those 5 things, you will climb. These are not glamorous skills. They will not generate highlight reels, but they will generate consistent results. If you cannot, do not blame cards. Install rules. The card market is a distraction from the real work of behavioral change. You can have the best team in the game and still concede cutbacks. You can have the worst team in the game and still protect cutbacks. The difference is not coins, it is discipline. Now, let us build a practical homework assignment for this stream. After you finish watching, do this for 10 matches. For each match, write one sentence in each of 4 categories. Category A, my biggest drawdown moment. Category B, my pivot hinge mistake. Category C, my best chance creation sequence. Category D, the opponent fingerprint that mattered most. After 10 matches, you will have a clear portfolio diagnosis. You will know whether you need a stabilizer upgrade, a distributor upgrade, a separator upgrade, or a finisher upgrade. You will also know which habits to train. This is data-driven self-improvement. You are treating your own gameplay as a system to be analyzed and optimized. And if you want me to audit your diagnosis on a future stream, drop your formation, your play style, and the 3 goal types you concede most. I will give you 1 rule and 1 portfolio adjustment to test. Follow and subscribe so you do not miss it. Like the stream so the platform pushes this to serious competitors. Share it with a teammate, and support if you want deeper breakdowns. Let us close this segment with a final principle. The ladder rewards calm compounding. Compounding is small advantages repeated, a safe first pass repeated, a cutback lane blocked repeated, a 2-touch finish taken early repeated. Over time, those repetitions create a win rate that looks like talent, but it is discipline. The mathematics of compounding are inexorable. Small edges consistently applied become large gaps. The player who wins 55% of their matches will climb far above the player who wins 50% of their matches, not because they are dramatically better, but because the cumulative effect of those extra wins compounds over time. Promos rotate, crowd behavior rotates. Your authority stays constant when your portfolio is built correctly. That is the blueprint, and that is how we keep winning without chasing noise. Now we expand the blueprint into a concrete tactical library you can run in real time, because a portfolio only matters if you can deploy it under stress. We will build a small library of plays that are simple, repeatable, and aligned to the hinge zones. Theory without practice is just entertainment. These plays are your practice. Play 1 is the exit ladder. It is a 3-rung escape that prevents you from forcing progress. Rung 1 is the short outlet, center back to fullback, fullback back to center back. Rung 2 is the pivot anchor, center back to pivot, pivot 1 touch, back to center back. Rung 3 is the release, center back into the opposite fullback or into a wide midfielder facing forward. The rule is that you never climb from rung 1 to rung 3 unless the opponent's first pressure line has committed. This keeps you from donating the ball. The exit ladder is your pressure release valve. When you feel the game speeding up, when you feel yourself making rushed decisions, you default to the ladder. It slows the tempo, restores your shape, and forces the opponent to spend energy without gaining territory. Play 2 is the pocket probe. The goal is to enter the half space without gambling. You move the ball to one side, then you deliberately play a pass into the nearest safe midfielder. Not to progress, but to invite pressure. When pressure arrives, you bounce once, then you enter the pocket with the next receiver who is already angled forward. The pocket probe is a pressure geometry trick. You are creating a triangle where the opponent can only press one corner at a time. If they chase the first receiver, the pocket opens. If they hold the pocket, the wing opens. Either way, you gain information and you keep the ball. This play teaches patience. You are not trying to break through immediately. You are probing, testing, waiting for the defense to reveal its structure. Play 3 is the box clamp. This is how you stop cutbacks without panicking. When the opponent reaches the wing in your defensive third, you clamp with 3 layers. Layer 1 is the wide contain. Your fullback stays between ball and box. Slow steps, no diving. Layer 2 is the cutback screen. Your pivot or nearest midfielder positions on the penalty spot lane, not on the ball. Layer 3 is the far post guard. Your weak side fullback tucks inside to protect far post space. The box clamp is simple. You let the opponent have the outside channel, but you remove the inside reward. Most players try to win the ball immediately. The box clamp accepts that you cannot win every duel, but you can control the consequences of losing duels. Play 4 is the counter filter. This is a transition play. When you win the ball, you filter your next action through 2 questions. Is my shape behind the ball, and is my forward lane clean? If both answers are yes, you counter quickly. If either answer is no, you recycle. The counter filter prevents the most common ranked mistake: countering with a broken rest shape, losing the ball, and conceding the counter. You want one clean counter, not 3 chaotic exchanges. Transition moments are high leverage because defenses are disorganized. But they are also high risk because your own defense is disorganized. The filter ensures you only take the high leverage moments. Now we introduce pressure geometry more explicitly because it is the most underused concept by ranked players. Pressure geometry is the way angles decide who is actually threatened. Many players look at distance only. Distance is not enough. Angle is the real danger. A receiver 5 meters away with an open body angle is safer than a receiver 10 meters away with a closed body angle. The geometry determines the options, and the options determine the pressure. A receiver is safe if they can play forward, sideways, and backward without turning into pressure. A receiver is unsafe if their body is closed, and the only forward option is through the opponent. The elite habit is to receive open. The portfolio habit is to choose assets that naturally receive open. This is why certain midfielders feel calm. They are not calm. Their receiving geometry is efficient. When you watch elite players, notice how often they take their first touch away from pressure, opening their body to the field. This is not accidental. It is trained, and it is trainable. So you must practice one thing: receiving orientation. When the ball is coming, you decide the exit before the touch. If you do not know the exit, you recycle. This is why the best players appear slow. They are not slow. They are prepared. Preparation looks like slowness because there is no hesitation, no false starts, no emergency corrections. Now let us add a second library: set piece indexing. Most players treat set pieces as random. Set pieces are free expected value if you treat them like a system. You need only 2 corners and 2 free kicks to gain advantage. Randomness in set pieces is a choice, not a necessity. By systematizing, you turn variance into edge. Corner index A is near post drag. You select a near post runner and a far post target. You aim near post to force a defensive reaction. Then you attack the second ball at the edge. Your rule is not score directly. Your rule is win the second ball and shoot quickly. Direct goals from corners are low probability. Second balls are high probability because defenses are disorganized after the initial clearance. Corner index B is edge reset. You play short to the edge, then you immediately switch the angle of delivery. This catches opponents who auto-run into the box. The goal is a cutback shot from the edge, not a header. This exploits the behavioral tendency to anticipate traditional deliveries. Free kick index A is keeper shift read. If the wall is central and the keeper shading is obvious, you shoot early. If the keeper is set, you play a disguised layoff and shoot from the edge. Reading keeper positioning is a skill that can be trained. Most keepers have tells. Free kick index B is back post float. If the opponent drags players into the wall, you float to the far post for a headed knockdown. Again, second ball is the value. The far post is often under-defended because attention focuses on the near post and the wall. Now you see the pattern. Do not chase one perfect moment. Chase repeatable second balls. Second balls are a portfolio edge because they are less correlated with flashy mechanics and more correlated with spacing and discipline. They are the compound interest of football. Small, consistent returns that accumulate over time. Now we integrate clock control, another idea most ranked players ignore. Clock control is not time wasting. Clock control is tempo selection. Tempo selection changes opponent behavior. When you slow the match for 10 seconds after you score, you reduce the chance of conceding immediately. When you slow the match after you concede, you prevent tilt. When you speed the match after you win a duel high up the pitch, you convert disorganization into a shot. Tempo is a weapon. Fast and slow are both tools to be deployed strategically, not habits to be defaulted to. So build a clock control rule. After scoring, you play a stabilization chain of 3 passes before attempting the next final action. After conceding, you play 2 safe passes and 1 probe before pushing. When leading after 70 minutes, you value safe possession in wide zones over risky central progress. That is not fear. That is risk management. These rules prevent the emotional swings that destroy ranked performance. The goal after scoring is not to score again immediately. It is to ensure you do not concede immediately. The goal after conceding is not to equalize immediately. It is to ensure you do not concede again immediately. Now, to keep everything measurable, we add a portfolio dashboard you can track with simple counts. Count 1, central turnovers in your half. Your target is 2 or fewer per match. If you hit 3 or more, your portfolio is too risky or your defaults are weak. Count 2, cutback passes allowed inside your box. Your target is 1 or fewer. If you allow 3 or more, your box clamp discipline is failing. Count 3. Clean shots created from inside the box. Your target is 4 or more. If you create 2 or fewer, your separator to finisher chain is weak. Count 4. Counters conceded where the opponent reaches your box in fewer than 5 seconds. Your target is 1 or fewer. If it is 3 or more, your rest shape insurance is insufficient. These 4 counts tell you what to fix without needing long analysis. They are diagnostic tools. You do not need to understand the deep theory to improve. You just need to track the numbers and adjust when they drift. Now, a final advanced idea for tonight: role contracts. A role contract is a promise you make about what a player will and will not do. You do this mentally. You decide that your pivot will not dribble in your half. You decide that your balanced side fullback will not overlap unless you are clearly established in the final third. You decide that your central midfielder will always be available as a reset option. You decide that your striker will check short once per attack to connect play. These contracts create structure under pressure. They are pre-commitments that remove decision fatigue. When you break contracts, you concede. When you honor contracts, the game becomes predictable in a good way. Predictability is not boring when you are winning. Predictability is power. Your opponent cannot exploit unpredictability if your actions are determined by role rather than by momentary impulse. Now, let us close the stream with a community challenge that fits the Isabella Marquez identity. I want you to run the portfolio challenge for the next 7 days. Each day you focus on one hinge. Day 1, pivot hinge. Your only goal is to reduce central turnovers. Day 2, edge of box hinge. Your only goal is to block cutback lanes. Day 3, wing lane. Your only goal is to create 1 clean switch and 1 2v1. Day 4, pocket lane. Your only goal is to enter the half space 5 times without losing the ball. Day 5, finishing. Your only goal is to take early shots from clean angles. Day 6, transitions. Your only goal is to apply the counter filter and avoid counter-counter spirals. Day 7, ranked push. Use your full portfolio and measure the 4 counts. If you do this and you want feedback, comment your results and your counts. I will respond with 1 contract to tighten and 1 portfolio adjustment to test. Follow and subscribe so you are here when I answer. Like the stream so it reaches the right players. Share it with your squad, and support if you want deeper audits. Remember the core message. Your advantage is not the latest card. Your advantage is a disciplined portfolio of roles, protected hinges, low decision latency, and measurable habits. That is how you turn eFootball 2026 into a system you can beat. Before you log off, set 1 intention. Tomorrow, you will not change your squad, you will change 1 rule. Pick the single count that hurts you most and protect it like a budget. Do not chase highlights, chase sequences. When the match feels fast, you slow it with structure. When the opponent feels strong, you weaken them by removing their best lane. That is elite thinking, and it compounds every session. Stay consistent. Now we keep going, and we move into the layer that separates smart from elite. How you turn your analysis into a living system that updates itself without you rebuilding your entire identity. Most players do one of 2 things. They either stay rigid and get left behind by the ladder, or they change everything every time they lose. Both are failures. What you want is adaptive stability, a core that stays constant, with small, controlled updates that keep you ahead. So I am giving you a brand new framework for Stream 3, the Meta Update Protocol. The Meta Update Protocol, you are only allowed to change 1 of these per session. A single tactical rule, a single role contract, a single player slot, a single pressing trigger. If you change more than 1 at a time, you destroy causality. You can no longer tell what worked. That is why people feel stuck. They are not learning. They are shuffling. Your goal is to create a clean feedback loop. Change 1 variable, run it for 10 matches. Measure 1 outcome, keep or discard. That is elite. Now, to make this practical, we add another new concept, the shape checksum. A checksum is a quick way to verify something is intact. In eFootball terms, your shape checksum is a 3-question scan you can do mid-match in 3 seconds to verify your structure has not silently collapsed. Shape checksum 3 questions. Do I have a pivot screen in front of my center backs? Do I have at least one balanced side player protecting the far channel? If I lose the ball right now, do I have 3 players behind it? If any answer is no, your next action must be a stabilization action. Recycle, reset, or reposition. You do not force progression when your checksum fails. That is how you stop conceding random counters that are not random at all. If this is already helping, do the support basics. Follow, subscribe, like, share, and support. This channel stays high signal when disciplined players keep it alive. Now let us introduce the asset correlation matrix. Another idea that most ranked players never even consider. Cards are not just strong. Cards are correlated with your habits. Some cards amplify your good habits. Some cards amplify your bad habits. When your bad habits get amplified, you concede in clusters. Asset correlation matrix. What to watch. If you are an impatient passer, ultra-aggressive attackers increase turnovers. If you overcommit fullbacks, attacking fullbacks increase counter exposure. If you chase the ball, high-risk press settings increase box chaos. If you hesitate, slow-release players increase decision latency. So your selection is not best rating. Your selection is best fit for my behavioral profile. Here is the elite move. You choose assets that counterbalance your personal tendencies. If you know you are naturally aggressive, you build a slightly more conservative portfolio. If you know you are naturally cautious, you add one separator to create threat. You build the squad like a stabilizer for your personality. Now we add a third new concept, variance budgeting. Every match contains variance, rebounds, deflections, small animation outcomes. You cannot remove variance, but you can choose how much variance you invite. Variance budgeting means you decide where you allow volatility and where you demand stability. Variance budget, where to be stable. Defensive third, high stability, low risk. Pivot hinge, extreme stability, edge of box hinge, stability and patience. Final third, controlled volatility, this is where risk belongs. Players lose because they spend variance in the wrong zones. They dribble in their half. They pass centrally while stretched. They tackle from behind. They invite maximum volatility near their box, then complain when volatility punishes them. Your policy is simple. High risk only when the reward is a shot. Now we are going to make your decision-making even more automatic with a tool called the trigger catalog. Most people press randomly. Most people attack randomly. The latter punishes randomness. You need a small set of triggers that you trust. Trigger catalog, 4 defensive triggers. Backward pass into a fullback under pressure, heavy touch facing their own goal. Central receiver with closed body angle, lateral pass across the top of midfield. You do not press constantly. You press on triggers, then you reset. Trigger catalog, 4 attacking triggers. Fullback steps early, immediate half-space entry, pivot steps out, quick pass into pocket, center back steps, runner behind immediately, winger gets isolated, 1v1, force the duel or reset once, then duel again. These triggers create predictable, repeatable advantage. That is what you want. Now we add another brand new tool, the 3Q method. This is for your mental clarity. In a match, you cannot solve everything. You must prioritize. So you keep 3 Qs in your mind. Fix Q. One thing you are actively correcting this match. Exploit Q. One weakness you will punish repeatedly. Ignore Q. One annoyance you will not emotionally react to. Example. Fix Q. No central turnover while stretched. Exploit Q. Opponent fullback steps too early. Ignore Q. Q 1 rebound does not change my plan. This prevents tilt and prevents over-adjusting. You stay in control. Now, let us talk about a highly advanced but extremely practical idea, opponent pricing. Every opponent has a price for defending different zones. Some opponents will defend the center, but give you the wings. Some will defend the wings, but give you pockets. Some will defend everything by chasing, which means they give you structure. Your job is to discover what they overpay for. How to read opponent pricing in 2 minutes. If they drag midfielders to the wing, they are overpaying for width. If they never step with a pivot, they are overpaying for central safety. If they sprint at the ball constantly, they are overpaying for pressure. If they always drop and never contest, they are overpaying for box security. When you see the overpayment, you attack the underpriced zone. This is how your goals become simple. You stop fighting their strength, and you start buying value where they are not paying attention. Now we introduce the 1-minute debrief, because what you do after matches determines whether you actually improve. Most people rage queue. That destroys learning. Instead, you debrief in 60 seconds. 1-minute debrief. Write 4 lines. The single bit I lost most. Exit, gate, final, box, transition. The single decision that created the worst moment. The single pattern that created my best chance. The single change I will test next match. Then cue again. This turns ranked into training. Now I want to give you a completely new set of anti-patterns to eliminate, because elite progress is often subtraction, not addition. The 4 anti-patterns. The hero pass. Force central pass because you want it to work. The panic sprint. Sprinting with the wrong player after losing the ball. The box chase. Pulling center backs toward the wing. The late touch. Taking an extra touch in the box when the shot window is open. If you remove these 4 behaviors, your baseline climbs fast. You do not need advanced mechanics to climb. You need fewer self-inflicted wounds. Now we add a final concept for this continuation: meta-resilience training. Meta-resilience means your system works even when your opponent is stronger. The connection is imperfect. You are tired. The ladder is full of the latest promo wave. To build resilience, you train under constraints that force stability. Here are 3 resilience constraints you can run this week. No sprint in your defensive third for 5 matches. No central pass into a marked receiver for 5 matches. No shot outside the box for 5 matches. These constraints teach patience, spacing, and shot quality. And when you remove constraints later, you keep the discipline. If you want deeper systems like this every session, you already know the actions. Follow, subscribe, like, share, and support. Intelligent gaming content survives when serious players push it forward.